Live. Waiting for my connection to come up here on YouTube and on Amazon, and then we'll get going. And I've got kind of a crazy science experiment going on here. Let me show you what I've got. So yeah, we're going to be doing a little retro stuff tonight with some new and old things. Let me just get the Amazon Live here. So, all right, there we go. So tonight is going to be a mixture of new and old. And I just got in the new Mega Everdrive. This, in full disclosure, came in free of charge from Crix, who makes it. So we're going to unbox this in a minute. Now, if you've never heard of the Mega Everdrive, what these are cartridges for your original game consoles. They've got a bunch of them. If you're watching on Amazon right now, we've got a whole bunch on the product carousel for most of the systems of the 80s and 90s. We've looked at a lot of these on my YouTube channel before. They are fantastic because you can load up all of your favorite games and just pop them in an original console, and you can pretty much put every game that you got on a single cartridge. And it's useful in a couple of other ways too, because you can grab homebrew games and things that are made by independent developers. There's a lot of activity in the retro community right now, and you can actually buy games that you can download and put on these cartridges and do some cool stuff with it. So what we're going to do today is we're going to get this thing going, and I'm going to do some initial footage capture for looks like I froze up. Did I freeze up, or my computer froze up? My computer froze up again. We're going to do some initial capture for the video that I'm going to make about this particular product, which is the Mega Everdrive Pro. Now, if you're watching on Amazon, the Mega Everdrive Pro is not yet available, but there are other types of flash cartridges that you can find on the carousel so you can poke around. Now, a couple other things we're doing here that I will point out to the folks watching on Amazon and here on YouTube is that we've got the RetroTink here. Now, there's a new one that just came out called the RetroTink Pro, much like our Mega Everdrive Pro here. And this is a really cool device. It's called a line doubler. And what it will do is take all of the stuff coming in from your old game consoles and get them working on modern displays. And it will do it better than just plugging in your RCA cables into your high-def or 4K TV. And the reason is that this will pass along what is essentially a 480p signal. So your TV doesn't have to do as much processing of the image. And it will work with composite. Right now I've got an RGB cable plugged into here that I'll talk about in a second. It also works with S-video, so you can generally get a pretty good image. Again, much better than what you would get by plugging your game console or your old game console directly into your television. Now, to get all this working tonight, we are using the HD RetroVision cables. Let me pull it up here on the Amazon product carousel here. And these cables are specifically designed for enthusiast retro gamers. I'm just trying to find it on my list here so I can point it out to the Amazon shoppers. Here it is. These are specific for retro enthusiasts because they take a lot of the noise out of the signal and you get a super clean signal. I've hooked this old Sega Genesis up to my 4K TV upstairs and it looks great. Now, the last piece of modern that we are mixing with the old here is this controller from 8BitDo. By the way, I bought the cable and the RetroTink 2X here with my own funds. This controller we're going to play with tonight is the 8BitDo M30 2.4G. And there are two versions of this. There's a Bluetooth version and there is this one, which is not the Bluetooth one. This is like just a 2.4 gigahertz signal that comes back. Let me just add this to the product carousel so you can see it. And these are great, kind of replica controllers. They have some of their own interpretation as to what a controller like this should look like. But it's great for Sega Genesis games because the layout is correct, right? So that's what you want to do. There's a Bluetooth one that costs $5 more that has more compatibility. But this one is very good if you just want to hook it up to your original console. And what's cool about it is that it is wireless. So you don't have to plug it in with a cable. You can get your RetroTink going and then go across the room here, because there's a little dongle that you just plug into your existing old game console, and you've got a modern wireless controller that you can hook up to it. It's pretty cool stuff. So that is the layout there. So a lot of folks are popping in wondering why I'm so late. Well, I was going to start earlier tonight, but what happened was I was hanging out with the family for a little bit, and then it was bedtime and bath and everything else, so I didn't get started till late. And then I had to find all of the AC adapters and cables for this contraption we're hooking up here. So that is what we're doing. And I'll answer some other questions here. Smoke Monster's here again, 2 nights in a row. We've got to do another collab video, Smoke Monster. Maybe I'll come on your channel next. Junior NJ wants to know, do NES games work on this new Everdrive? And they do, and we'll look at that before we close out the evening here. We've got a bunch of stuff that I want to look at with this, and then we'll see where it goes. So this just came in today, hot out of the Ukraine, and that's where Crix is located, who makes these things. This guy is amazing. Now, we've previously looked at the Mega SD, which is a similar device. Now, what this will do, it looks like a Sega Genesis cartridge or a Mega Drive cartridge, but it will also replicate the Sega CD, much like the Mega SD does that we looked at a little while back. So I think if you have a Mega SD and you're happy with it, there aren't too many new features on this one that one doesn't have, but it does support more save states than the Mega SD. There is an NES emulator that you can run on here, which is kind of cool. And I believe it also supports save states on the Master System, which the SD doesn't do. But I think otherwise it's very comparable, but it's going to be less expensive. This isn't out yet, but I think it's going to be about $200 or so, so it's a little bit less than what they're charging for the Mega SD. So this is the cartridge. Again, just looks kind of like your standard Sega Genesis cartridge. And what we're going to do is get an SD card ready and load it into the top here. Now, I've already preloaded the games that I want to test on that card, but what we're going to do first is run out to the Crix website and download the software that runs on the cartridge, because that's stuff that we've got to do. And then we're going to be testing it on the original hardware. And I also brought out my 32X here so we can test out the 32X games as well. One thing to note is that the cartridge will not replicate a 32X, and you can't play 32X CD games with this because you need to have the CD plugged in through the CD port on the side for that to work. I think the Mega SD has an adapter that lets you do that, but this will not work with 32X CD games, and I don't think there's all that many of them there. So what we're going to do now is just head over to Crix's software directory here. I'm just going to download the drivers or the software for the Mega Everdrive Pro, which is the one we're playing with tonight. On Amazon, you can find a number of other Mega Everdrives, and there's different features that come with those. But this is the latest and greatest here. So we're going to download Mega OS, and not very big, and we're going to just unzip that to my downloads directory, and let me pop in there. And what I've got already is an SD card loaded up on my computer here. So let me just make this larger so you can see it better. And so this is what we just downloaded, and you can see it's called, the folder's called Mega. So everything for the Mega Everdrive has to be in this Mega folder, and we're going to have to put some BIOSes in there. And this is where it stores some of the mappers and some of the other things that it's going to use, like save games and that sort of thing, and save states and all that good stuff. So what they say is that you should not put anything in this folder beyond the Sega CD BIOS, which is what we will do in a minute. Now, for some reason, my SD card didn't pop up here in this little hub that I've got plugged in. So let me reinsert the card here and hope that that pops up now. There it goes. So we're just going to copy Mega to my Mega SD card. It's probably already in there. Yep, there we go. And the other thing I'm going to do is just copy the Sega CD BIOSes that I want to use. So I'm going to use the Model 2 US BIOS, and this was the one that I had. So let's copy that over to the BIOS folder, and there's a README in there that I should probably look at, so let's take a look at that real quick. I have to just rename it. So we have to call it mcd-us.bin. So let me just grab the file name here. So mcd.us.bin. And what I'm going to do is just have the US one and the Japanese one in here. And I think we call the Japanese one JP. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to grab that one. And we'll also move the Japanese BIOS over as well. I guess there isn't. There it is. I just like the Model 2. It's newer. That's what I had. I like the startup sound of the Model 2 better, so that's the one I'm going to go with here. And we'll just change that to JP. All right. And I have 2 bins here, so we only need 1 bin. We'll fix that. And we'll fix... By the way, I am just still in awe of these little SD cards. They're just amazing how much data you can store on one of these things. All right, so I think we're good there. Yep. Oh, we need an SMS BIOS. So let me see if I have the SMS BIOS. If not, I will go and find one. I don't actually think we need that because the Sega Genesis has that already. And in the full review, what I'll do is we will use it with the Mega SG, which is, of course, that awesome console that we've played with there. All right. So let's get the show on the road here. Boot this sucker up, huh? All right, we're good. I can pop that card out. And now what I'm going to do is just head over to camera 3, and we're going to put that card inside our cartridge here. So it just goes in the top. This is not using the larger SD cards. So the other one used the full-size cards, at least the one that I have. So this one is using just the little guys here. And it's actually nice because you can get at the card pretty easily. So it just clicks right in there. That's good. All right, shall we fire it up and see what happens? All right, ready? I think it's going to be loud when this audio comes up here. Okay. Look at that. I like the easy button on that. So we'll hit any key. Oops, whoa, okay, there we go. All right, my controller is a little bit flaky at the moment, so it might just be the, bear with me for 1 second here. The 8-bit-do controller, it's acting a little flaky right now, and I think let me just hit the reset button on here. That's better. Oh, maybe not. I think there might be some interference with the receiver, so I'm going to just switch to the OG here, and we'll just make sure we've got a better connection. There's always a glitch on this show. So let me just move this out of the way, because I'm not that far from the console, so we don't really need the wireless right now. It's weird that it's doing that because I've never had a problem with those 8-bit-do controllers, but I've got my original here, and that seems to be working better. Okay, could be a bug too, who knows, right? So, so the first thing I want to do, let's just load up, I've got a demo folder here. So I just want to load up like a game, right? So let's load up Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, one thing I'm noticing already, and I'm going to start keeping some notes here because I am going to do a review on this product. The Mega SD does not show you ROMs that you can't load. So, for example, I'm seeing, I guess I probably could load these CD ones up, right? So, because it does have the CD emulation, but I am seeing the Star Wars Arcade here, for example, which won't run unless I've got the 32X attached. And the Mega SD would hide the 32X ROMs if we were not in that mode. So what we're going to do here is just load up Sonic the Hedgehog 3. And we have a few different things we can do here. So we can get some info on the ROM, the size of it and all that good stuff. They have a hex view, so you can look at the hexadecimal of it. That's kind of neat. You can kind of dig in, see what's in that ROM file. That'd be a good way of troubleshooting to see if the one you have works. Don't do that because that'll delete it off the card. We can do cheats. We'll have to experiment with that in a minute. And then I think, yeah, there's some other options here. So we can get device info as to what we've got attached. And it looks like they did some testing on this one because it's got 9 games played on it. Now, why it says Sega CD not installed is because we don't have a Sega CD attached. So you could, not use this as a Sega CD, but I think the whole point in getting one of these is to do that because you don't need the Sega CD. It's all built in, which is really, really useful there. So we have that. We can run some diagnostics on it. It looks like these are like global cheats that you can assign. This is helpful because you can go back to like the recent games that you played. So if you have a huge collection like Smoke Monster does, you can kind of keep track of everything. So that's pretty cool. Smoke Monster said, don't play Power Rangers. I got a scary live TV warning for that in a stream. Okay, I'll be careful with that. Yeah, so I believe, Smoke Monster, that it will work with the Sega CD attached, but they warn you about trying to play CD games with the cartridge in. So they, there's something in the documentation which I'll pull up because I did read about that. All right, so options here. In-game menu we're going to leave on. Mega key, I have to look that up actually. I forgot what the mega key is. Mega key is on. Cheats are on. SMS BIOS is off. So I guess there might be areas where you'd want that. I'm not sure how we'll work with that. This we're going to play with later because it does support the FM synthesis on the Master System. So in Japan, they had an FM sound chip that we didn't get in the US, but a lot of the US games have the FM sound still baked in, which is pretty neat. So that's kind of cool. Here, actually, to answer Smoke Monster's question, here is the documentation. And the built-in CD core cannot be used in pair with the 32X, which we talked about. The built-in CD core registers conflict with the external Mega CD add-on registers. Due this reason, CD games executed from cart may not work properly if an external Mega CD is installed. So you could play the cartridge games, but not the CD games. It is recommended to leave the external CD unit unpowered in an attempt to solve this problem. It will only make things worse and may cause glitches even in the regular Sega and SMS games. Internal CD core can be executed in pair with external CD unit only if warnings option is turned off. So that is the answer to that. Reset to menu will bring you back to the main menu versus the game that you've got on. File sorting, I'm guessing it's going to sort things by name, and warnings on. We have Mega CD options. Let's pop in there. So low res pass, the treble boost on the CD audio, per game RAM. I have to look for that. BRAM. And then this is per game RAM card. This is something the Mega SD did also. So what you could do is have, so Sega CD games would save to the battery backup on the unit, or they would write to a cartridge, a special cartridge that was designed for saving Sega CD games. And what you can do here is have every game have its own RAM card for saving your save games. It's off by default here, but I figured I'd turn it on. That's what I have the Mega SD do as well, so we're going to turn that on. In-game combo. So here's a couple things. We have save states on this. Now, save states work on the cartridge games and on the Sega Master System games, but not on Sega CD or 32X. So that is that. Quick load save will load the game that you saved. So I guess if we want to do these are off right now, so I might want to turn the save key on. So we have to set up a key combo. So let's do, I don't know, let's do, we'll do start and X. And we'll turn that, oops. So down and start is the menu. Let's remember that. Oh, I see. So we have a menu for Mega Drive is down and start, and then for Master System it's down in B and C. So maybe I'll have save be down in A. How about we do that? So quick save down A. There we go. And then quick load we'll do down in B maybe. And we have to hold it down to get that program there. Okay. Combination changed. All right. So now we're good to go, right? So let us load up. Let's do Sonic 3 here and see what happens. Start game. Sega. All right, that seems to be a good sign that the game's working here. Let me know if you hear an echo, because I have it playing through my monitor here. But I'm not seeing any problems here. That little stuff you see at the bottom there, I guess I forgot the guy's channel, but he talks about all the little tricks that they used to do with the Sega Genesis to get more out of it. And what you're seeing here is just something that would usually be invisible on a CRT, because it would be in the overscan area. So they were using portions of the screen to do some tricks for getting additional graphics on screen and kind of doing operations that the viewer or the gamer would not see when they were playing here. But this seems to be working fine. Now again, we're on original hardware here. And this is one of the things when you have the combo of the RetroVision cable and the RetroTink, doesn't this look great? I mean, this looks, I think, pretty much as good as the Mega SD does. You know, the Mega SD, of course, looks better. The Mega SG, I'm sorry. Mega SG works better because it is, it's got a 1080p output. But, this looks good. I think this looks really good. And granted, you're all watching this on a 720p live stream. But on my display here, it's super smooth. Oh, and you know what? I made a big mistake on the save state because I hit down an A, and then it saved the state. That's why it flipped like that. See that? But I did save a state, so we'll test and see how that save state works. All right, so I didn't like what happened there, right? So I can hit down and B, and that'll restore me right to the spot I was just at. So the save states work too. Yeah, okay, so the cartridge games work, but that's to be expected because those worked. All right, so now I went into the menu. So we'll exit game, and we're brought back to the menu here. Cool. All right, so that worked. Let's try a Master System game. And what you're going to hear, if you are somebody who has watched, if you've ever watched the good old games, well, actually, let me start again. I'm getting tired, everybody. If you ever played, back in the day, Phantasy Star, this will appear very different to you because, or sound very different to you. Oh, no, it's not doing the FM sound. Okay, so we got to figure out why that is. So I think down and A and B. Is that what it was? Because it's just playing, first of all, the Master System is working, by the way. But it is playing the original music here. And that's one of the things that was cool about the Sega Genesis, was that it was backwards compatible with the prior system. By the way, when I first saw this dungeon exploration on my Master System, I was totally blown away. Yeah, so no problem there. Okay, so let's see if I can figure out what I did wrong on the menu here. So I'm just going to reset real quick. And I'm going to go back to our settings. And in-game combo. All right, so the in-game menu for SMS is down, B, and C. And I'm actually going to turn off the combo here just because I was doing some bad stuff with that. So we'll let it be there. Okay, so in-game menu for the SMS is down plus B and C. Now I thought, though, because it's set to on, but I wasn't getting the audio. So let me load up another game that I know has it. So let's try Zillion 2 here. And this one I know has FM audio. No, it's playing the other. All right, so let's go down B and C. And so here you got the save states now in the Master System, which is great. So let's go back and set that to a different setting. And it could be here, oops, I didn't mean to do that. It could be what's going on here is that I don't have that BIOS installed, and that might be why we don't get the audio. This game was so hard. When I was a kid, I liked games that had a variety in the gameplay. So this one had, oops, I gotta really adjust these these things because I keep hitting the wrong thing. All right, so you have 100 save slots, by the way. Oops. See, and I keep hitting the menu. Oops. All right, let's exit game. I was trying to get the right combo here. There we go. Okay, so what we're going to do here is go back to C, and we're going to go back to Options. And I'm going to turn this off and just see if it does the opposite of what I think it should be doing. Because this I know has FM synthesis. Yeah, it's not doing it. So I think I got to get the BIOS, so I need to make a note to do that, just to make sure that works. And getting the FM sound is kind of an elementary thing, so I would expect it to do that. So we'll get that in a little bit. All right, so Master System, no problem. So now, let us try something else. So one of the games that is unique to the Sega Genesis is the Virtua Racing game, because this had a special chip on its cartridge. So let's try that one, because this does not work on the older Everdrives. But it appears to be working here. By the way, the Switch version of this game is awesome. I'm just going to record some B-roll of this one just because it's good to... Oops. Oh, I'm shifting gears here. I must say that the Switch version, if you've played that one, is much better than this one. But it works. I remember this one had a special chip on board to do the 3D. And for a short window, this was pretty amazing to see on a Sega Genesis because it didn't have this 3D capability. But if I remember correctly, this game was quite expensive. But it's good to see this working here. And again, this will work on the Mega SD also, and the Mister, right? Smoke Monster? All right, so I think we're good on this one. Woo! All right, so we're good there. And bear with me here for 1 second, folks, because I just have to rename my B-roll that I just captured, so I make sure I remember to do that. And we're going to have a new video in the morning, by the way. So I've got my VLAN video done finally, which I've been meaning to get to for a while. So this is going to be Virtua Racing B-roll. Okay. Good there. So now I don't know if we can do a save state on this, though. Let's see if we can. And I forgot the combination again. Let me reset here and see if I can remember the combination. Because I don't know if it supports the options for in-game combo. So down and start was the, okay. Down and start. So let's go back in there real quick. I just wanted to capture some footage of the opening screen here, too. It's amazing just how fast time flies, because like I still remember all this stuff being new. It makes me sad because it's so long ago now. All right, so let me go and hit. Just refresh my. Here we're gonna call this 1001. Okay. It was down and start, everybody, right? Yeah, I don't think you can get into the menu on here. Yeah. So let me just make sure that was the case. Oops. Down and start, yeah. So it looks like the in-game menu does not work with Virtua Racing, but that doesn't surprise me because that is a unique game. So, so you're not going to do any save states with that one. Recipe Bob says it was a long time ago. Does that mean we're getting old? I hope not, but I think we are. All right, so we got that done. So now let us see what happens when we load up a CD game. So let's hit the hit this one. Start game. All right, so it loaded up the BIOS automatically. And the trick is with this is to see, because this is the US BIOS here. So the trick will be to see what happens when we load the Japanese version. And we're getting CD audio. I love this game. I never really I need to actually sit down and play it. Let's just pop in and make sure it all works. And right now it's loading. Remember, this is a CD image that it's basically running here. Yeah, no problems here. All right. It's funny. There's a lot of controversy over the soundtrack, but I kind of like the soundtrack in this game. And this is what I remembered playing when I got my Sega CD. Yeah, so there's a lot of controversy over the versions, right? But this is what I remembered, so this is what I like. So that's how it kind of came about. Now, we are in a CD game, so let's see if the menu, yeah, so the in-game menu doesn't work here either. So in order to do something different here, we're going to have to hit the resets, I believe. Yeah. So we'll have to hit the reset to get out of this. Let's do that real quick. That takes us right back to where we were. There are some options here. I think, actually, let's see if there's options. Yeah, here, let's go to the ROM info. You know, it's amazing when you think about how much more stuff they had to work with, right? You know, 573 megabytes for the game total. Now, granted, that includes the CD audio, but all right. So now we're going to try the Japanese version and see what happens. Oops, I've got a bunch of tracks here. Let's see if I can find the. What if I have the wrong? So this I was able to load up on the page 102. You know, I'm going to need to go back into my card because I forgot exactly. Let me just pop this out real quick. I'm just going to pop this into my computer just to see what's going on, because I know this is the exact same card I used on the Mega SD. So I'm curious as to what file I've got to look at. So let me just go pop into the card here real quick, and let's have a look in that folder. So I'll give you a view of that. So we'll go to Games, Demo, Sonic CD Japan. So there's a Q. Oh, you know what it was? It was hiding the Q file. And so, yeah, so I would imagine track 1 here is the one we got to load, because that's usually the data track. So let's try, oh, I'm sorry, this is, sorry, I got the wrong screen up. So track 1 here is the data track, so we're going to try to run that. but I might have it show the Q file, which might be easier to find, because it does support bin and Q. So let's see what happens when we get that going. And by the way, if you're on Amazon, we are using an old Sega Genesis here. But what we're doing is we're getting it connected to modern displays with this device called the RetroTink. And this is a cool device because it makes your old game consoles look as good as they can look on a modern display. And I've been very, very pleased with mine. And I bought this a while ago. The new one is better, but the one I have is good enough for what I'm going to do, what I do with it. All right, so we're going to go back to games, and let's go to my demo folder. And I'm just going to select track 1. So this could get a little confusing if let me see if I can, maybe we'll show the Q files. I have to go back and maybe look at that directory again. Yeah, so let's try to just run the Q file and see what happens. No, it doesn't do it. So you got to start on track 1 if you got one of these crazy multi-track deals here. Let's see what happens. And now this game I know would boot up on the Mega SD, because this is the exact same one. So that's a little bit of a glitchy thing there. So I might need to find another copy of the game, because I own the US version, but I don't have the Japanese one on hand here. So I really wanted to try out a few Japanese games here. I think I've got some other Sega CD games on here. So let's see if here's another Japanese game. I have a Japanese game here, so let's try Devastator, and this is Japanese. Yeah, it's going to be confusing for people, I think. These are all WAV files. There's the ISO. Unsupported disk. Okay. Yeah, so this is the one area that I think the Mega SD at the moment might do a little better with, because all of these games I could load. So let's see if NHL 94 comes up. That's not a Japanese game. So let's see what we get here. Caleb does makeup, just popped in. And he's got a Sega. He's got a Sega, an old Sega. Yeah, this is kind of a cool device that we've got hooked up to this thing. So the RetroTink, which will let you play this stuff. And then what we're doing tonight is we're doing a little flash cartridge that just came out that allows you to run the old Sega CD games without the CD, which is pretty neat. So it looks like we've got some video here working, so that's good. This is. So NHL 94, I don't think it's the CD version that's beloved, but this game, the Genesis version of this game, is considered like the best hockey game ever made, at least for this generation of console. And if I'm not mistaken, there are people that are continually adding new player rousters to it, right? So they're still working on yeah, there's still people playing this game. I think they do tournaments and stuff too. So Smoke Monster has some tips here. All of Crix's flash carts are using proper voltage conversion. Okay. Yeah, so he's a very good hardware engineer, no question. Oh, and I think I may have selected the wrong track on the other one. Let's go back to that and see what happens. But the good news is the full motion video works, so that's great. All right, so let's jump back and let's try to get that game going again here. So let's go back to demo, because I think I selected the wrong folder there. All right, so let's pop in here. Because I don't think I've told it which BIOS to choose. This is track 13, so let's go up to the top here. This is track, okay, track 1, 16, track 01. Let's try this one. Q file not found. Q file name should match to the Q. Okay. So I think this could be an issue with. Oh, okay. So here's the other thing you can do. Rather than dive into this, I can just hit the Start button on the folder. So, for example, Sonic CD USA. If I hit Start, oh, maybe not. Q file's in there. Sonic CD. I guess the folder name has to match. Q file name should match to the CD image name. So let me jump back to. Caleb Does Makeup wants to know if Sega will ever do. Actually, they did do. There is a Sega Genesis Mini that you can find right now on Amazon. In fact, I will add it to my carousel here. And I think it was on sale a week or two ago. Yeah, it is on sale right now, as a matter of fact. Look at that. I just added it to the carousel. And you can have one with games for $58.99 right now. Here, I'll click on it right there. Look at that. It's on sale. I just made your night. You can go and grab some games. Grab your old Sega. And then the best part is that's already doing all this. So you don't need this stuff. And I think they loaded up like a lot of the popular games on that one. So it should be pretty easy to get going with. All right, so let me go back over to Sega CD here. Let's try to run one of those Japanese games. Yeah, this is going to be very confusing, I think, for folks, because these all worked on the other device. I'm getting this every time I pop in. Now, if I go in and hit the bin file directly, that goes. Zyro wants to know, can this be used on the Sega CDX because Terra Onion's Mega SD? So I think the issue that with using this with a CD installed is that you can play the cartridge games, but if you want to do the CD like we're doing now, you would need to, obviously you can't do this with the CDX, but you should be disconnecting it. Caleb Does Makeup says, this is so cool. I didn't get the PlayStation one because it didn't have a bunch of the games I would have preferred. Yeah, check out the Sega one. I think they've got a good, probably the most popular games that were out. I don't think the Genesis Mini, though, has the CD games. And that's what we're playing around with here. The good news is, though, all of the hardware scaling that the Sega CD supports is supported here. So that's good. Yes, I think Crix has got to clean up the CD loading here and like what he supports, because like this is the exact same card and images that I've loaded up on the Mega SD. But this looks like it's working pretty nicely, though. I mean, otherwise, from a hardware standpoint, so that's great. And it's a smaller cartridge versus the Mega SD. That's good. Okay, so let's jump back here, and let me see if I have a different version of it in here. So Sonic the Hedgehog Japan. Okay, there it goes. So yeah, this is going to be a BIOS problem, right? Because it's the Japanese version. Unless this is the I don't think this is the Japanese BIOS, though. Because I loaded both the Japanese and the US BIOS into this. Oh, it's Batman again. What did I do? Yeah, something's flaky here. Let me reboot it. We'll just boot up again here and get going. Oh, okay, Golden. Okay, so the NES Everdrive works. Start reruns the last game played. Looks like the same style BIOS. Yeah, it's got to be. That's probably what happened there. I got to get used to this again. I wonder if I can just boot the BIOS up. Let's try. Let me go back and do it one more time. So we'll go back to Sega CD, and we'll go Sonic Japan. I think I hit the start button again, didn't I? And not the A button. Yep. There we go. Q file not found. Q file name should match the CD image name. I don't know where it's getting the CD image name, so let me go see if there is. I don't think there was a Q file in this folder, which is what it is. So I'm going to have to play around with that a little bit more just to get that figured out. However, I do want to try. So Caleb wants to know if the Genesis Mini has Joe and Mac. Let me look that up real quick for him. Maybe I'm sure one of the folks in the YouTube chat might know, because that was his favorite game. It was oh, here we go. Perfect. Recipe Bob to the rescue. He's got every game that's on the Sega Genesis Mini. All right, I do want to try out Sewer Shark, because that's like something we just try every time. So let me go over to Sewer Shark. Yeah, this is so confusing. I don't know how. I gotta dig in and get a little bit more research on how this is supposed to work. So Alpha Max says, I had the same Sega Genesis when he was a kid. You even still have the games with the boxes. That's great. You should go check out some of those sites that have you know, the value of the games. I forgot the name of the site. But yeah, Caleb, I definitely have that on here. It's Joe and Mac. Let's see if I can load it up real quick. Let me just make sure this is going to work right. This is a very, this is an entirely full motion video Sega CD game. This was the pack-in with my Sega CD unit.
First time, rookie.
Yeah,
Hey,
it sounds like the audio is breaking up a little bit too.
Now that's my main man. Greatest co-pilot to ever shoot the tubes. Give him your best stuff, and he'll keep you flying.
I'm gonna have to write to Crix about this, because I may not be doing something correctly. I don't know. Yeah.
Showtime. I'm Falco. You'll be hearing from me.
Yes, it's not supposed to sound like that. And this is like super early in its development, like as far as the. So I wonder if maybe he's got a few more software updates to come before.
But the ghost here, I always come back for more.
Gotta love this stuff.
Let's go, rookie! Take a deep breath, rookie.
Yeah, definitely a little shaky there. So let's go check out Joe and Mac. I'm pretty sure I have that on here. So Caleb wants to know, he's confused about how these cartridges work. Do they plug into the old systems as well, or do you need a different Sega? Yeah, so these flash cartridges will plug into an old system. There's another system that I have upstairs that I don't have down here at the moment called the Mega SG, which is a clone console of the original Sega Genesis. This will work with that. It's from a company called Analog, but this will not work with most of the cheaper clone consoles that are out there. So generally, this is going to be something that will work with the original hardware or that Analog console, because it's designed specifically to work with the old Sega Genesis. And let's try Joe and Mac real quick. And here comes your nostalgia, Caleb. There you go. And what's nice about and then using the RetroTink here with the HD RetroVision cables, and look how clean that image looks. And granted, you're watching this on a live stream, but it looks like it's been, that it was done today. As far as the graphics, everything's very sharp. The image quality looks fantastic. So yeah, and it's amazing because this is there's no modification to this console. It is simply the RGB cable here with the retro tank, and that's it. It's just great, isn't it? And you'll spend and this is one of the things that happens with retro gaming, and Smoke Monster can certainly give his experiences with this expensive hobby. Because once you go down the rabbit hole, it's like, oh, I need my other consoles to look this good. So like if I wanted to get my old Nintendo looking like this, forget it, right? So the Mister project, which is something I'll cover, we'll be doing a Mister video soon, a live stream soon, because I've got some new stuff for it. The Mister project allows you to get this quality and the accuracy that you can't get out of some of these emulator consoles and stuff. So yeah, looks good. Yeah, the retro tank combo is great. All right, so now we have tested a Sega CD. I got to do a little bit more work on that, but I think it's now time to see if it works with the 32X. Now, if you don't remember the 32X, let me tell you about the 32X. I think the 32X could have been something really significant. You know what's weird is this is like super hot right here. Super powerful, super hard to code for, as I remember them saying. And it came out like right at the end of the Sega Genesis life cycle, and they were about to release the Saturn, and then they came out with this thing, and the market got all confused. But there's actually some really good games on it, and surprisingly good games, some really good arcade ports. And it's kind of a shame that it just didn't get the attention that I felt it deserved. And as a result, it kind of fell by the wayside. The reason why you still need the 32X with this, because this works with the as a Sega CD, but it can't work as a 32X. And the reason is that the 32X required a pass-through cable. So it takes video that's being generated on the original console and then adds additional things that the 32X component is rendering. So you can't just make a cartridge that just works with it. Eventually, I think we'll see an FPGA implementation of the 32X, and that will, I think, provide some intriguing developments. So let's see what happens here. Now, I think they were selling the 32X add-on for big money back in the day. I think it was selling for like $129. Doesn't look like it's booting up here. And I got mine. Oh, you know what I have to do? I need to plug the power in. I got mine for $29. I remember I went to Toys R Us or the mall. I was somewhere. I was in college when this happened, and I was shocked because here's this system, this brand new, amazing 32X system that I was hearing about how poorly it was selling, but they just liquidated it. And so, like, the games were dirt cheap, and I was so pumped. I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. So it's a shame. Like, they should have sold it for $30 to begin with, and they would have had a hit on their hands. They probably could have like made the Saturn better, right? So what are you going to do? All right, so let's go into some 32X games. Here, so I bought 2 games with my 32X when it came out. One of them was Star Wars Arcade. Let's have a look at that. Now this is, again, running off of the 32X, but the ROM is being loaded from the Mega Everdrive here. And prior versions of the Everdrive did this just fine. And we'll do a quick little playthrough here. And go there. And I got to turn this down. So now I'm going to get like...
wing pilot. Stand by to receive orders.
It's a trap.
Wipe out enemy fighters.
I thought this game was pretty good. I mean, you got 3D polygons. Now, it's not as good, though, as the new Star Wars game that's coming out, right? What's that called? Squadrons? I mean, it's kind of a similar concept, right? You're going to be in this cockpit and doing all this flying around and stuff. But this is pretty, I mean, the graphics are pretty good on this, right? So this is the 32X rendering the 3D. And then I think the Genesis component is doing the cockpit. And so these two systems kind of work together to do that. But yeah, it seems to work fine. So no problem with the 32X. But because the 32X is installed, we don't get the in-game menu, we don't get the save states, and we also don't get the Sega CD component either. So I don't know what I just did there. Did I do that? Oh, I see. There's a fighter on our tail. Seems like every stream lately we end up just doing Star Wars X-Wing games. This looks great. Look how nice this looks on. I mean, just so sharp. And it never looked this good. You know, this is the same console that I had hooked up with composite cables, you know, back in the old days. So, good stuff. All right, so let's hit reset here. And let's just see what happens if we try to load a CD game now. It's not going to work, but why not just try? So if we go and hit... yeah, so now you'll get the warning message there. All right, now there's one more bag of tricks that this thing has up its sleeve. And apparently, what you can do with this, let me just disconnect the 32X real quick. Yeah, so this thing had its own power supply. And if you had the Sega CD, you had to plug in like three different huge wall warts to get it all working together. It was just nuts. So let's plug in the HD Retrovision cable again in there. And we'll take the cartridge and put that back in. And I'm going to pop out the SD card briefly, because one of the little tricks this thing has up its sleeve is that apparently it will let you play Nintendo games, NES games, on the Genesis, which is like complete sacrilege, but you can do it. So I just need to put a game on here real quick. So let me just scroll up here. This is the documentation, by the way, so maybe we should look through some of the tips on the Sega CD stuff. Okay, Mega CD core. Cartridge has a built-in Mega CD core. It allows display CD images without actual Mega CD add-on. Supports bin queue images. Raw dumps without sector cropping are required. Sometimes bin images can be stored as IMG or ISO. They can be played without renaming. CD image and queue file names should be the same. Multi-disc images. For using multi-disc images, they should all have the same name but with a number of disc at the end. When the game will require another disc, it will swap automatically. Mode 1 games. So-called Mode 1 allows for cartridge-based CD hardware for enhancement, usually for replacement standard CD. Okay. Oh, those are those, right. There's some games out there that are cartridge games that had the music redone. I need to grab one of those. Yeah, so it looks like I've got to find a bin queue version of that Japanese game. So I need to do a little bit more research on this. And then it's talking about how it, okay, so it will, okay, huh. I'll have to play around with this a little bit more. All right, so let's see where the NES core here. I think I can just put the game on there. So let me grab, let me go out to my NAS here and throw that on real quick, and then we'll go from there. Yeah, so I'm thinking right now that, and I'm going to need to go back to my Mega SD to just verify my recollection, but I seem to recall the Mega SD being a little more flexible as to the CD images and the layout, you know, versus what what this is allowing us to do. So I just need to research that a little bit more, but I'm feeling like this is a little, like there's a little bit more of a difficulty on this. Which means, this is what it means, is that I'll review it and I'll mention that, and then he'll fix it, and then I'll have to do another review. But I'm going to reach out to him and just see if there's some things in the works on that. All right, so let me just copy this over real quick. All right, there we go. Okay. So, this is going to be super weird. Okay. Now it's showing up. And it's got, now what he says in his documentation, and I totally understand why this is that some of the more advanced Nintendo games are not going to work on here. But, ooh, yeah, see, a little video weirdness, right? I'm not hearing any sound either. So this is Super Mario 3. And this might be, so what he was talking about was that some of the games with the more advanced mappers might have some issues. And so I think here's one that might be a little difficult. But I'm hearing some sound. Let's turn the volume a little bit. How weird is this, like, to run an NES game on a Sega Genesis? Isn't that crazy? So, yeah, it's not looking too good. So let's, yeah, you can't go into the menu there either. Let me get another ROM that I think might be simpler. So let's grab, like, the original and see if that runs a little better. I think that one probably will. Put that in here. And we'll get that going real quick. But yeah, I'm pretty pleased with this. Like I said, I'm gonna have to reach out to them and just try to make sure I'm not doing something wrong. And I also want to grab my Mega SD and just make sure that my recollection is correct as well. I mean, it works fine for all the other stuff. I think it's just and the core works fine when you have the image, in there properly. So I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I just think it works differently. And let me just grab another game real quick here. So we'll grab yes, this is not going to be, I think it's kind of a party trick, right? It's not a but it's cool to be able to do that. And it's not, it's not doing any funny business here. I think it's running, I think the core is running on the cartridge's FPGA. So the cartridge itself has an FPGA on there, and that's how it runs the Sega CD core, and the NES core for that matter. And that FPGA is also going to do the FM synthesis for the master system and all sorts of good stuff. At least I think it does. All right. Let's try the original, see how that works. Yeah, this one looks a little better. But you know what? If you're not looking to play anything crazy, and you want, yeah, it seems to work a lot better. Yeah, so you are playing NES on the Sega Genesis with an FPGA. So the NES hardware is running on the cartridge, and then it's passing video to the Genesis, and that's how it's popping up on screen here. You can't do the save states or anything with this, but yeah. I mean, that's kind of funky, right? Like, can you imagine if they had done this in, and it was probably not impossible. They could have put like a little NES on a chip on a cartridge back in the day. Of course, they would get sued to, you know, to wherever, but there you go. So, cool stuff. Yeah. All right, so let's try just loading up a CD BIOS. See what happens. Oh, I see. So we just you have to jump out this way. All right, so let's see if we can get. I'm really trying to trigger that Japanese BIOS. So let me see if I can find a Japanese game here. So I got a bunch on here that might work. Here's a Japanese game. Well, I'm worried about that one may not be so appropriate. Let's see, that one's TSC US, US, U. This one is US. It's killing me that I can't get this game running either, you know? US, 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 US. Here's another one. Let's try this one. This one's an ISO, so probably not going to work. Yeah. Yeah. So that's again the one thing that I'm finding with this, that it's a little more finicky about what it supports versus the Mega SD. So you're going to have to go and, you know, make sure you get the bin.q files put together. Let's see if Final Fight runs. That's going to run because we got the Q file. This is a great game. Yeah, so Shredding Splinters is talking about how Coleco did that. So Coleco had an add-on module. I had it that would let you play the Atari games on the ColecoVision, and that was a big deal because suddenly, and they advertised it like, hey, we got a lot more games now because they were able to play their competitors' games. I think the CD version of this, so I guess the SNES had a really good version, but this one was better because it had all the characters, which I don't think the other game had. So UTTR Concrete wants to know when this is coming out. I would say it's probably coming out very soon. Usually when they send these things to me, they're pretty close to release on it. But yeah, CD games work fine. I mean, if you have them in the right format, it's good to go. It's just a matter of having that format correct. So there you go. And we have a border around here just because the way these games worked is that they assumed you were plugging them into a CRT television, so there was always an overscan. And so this area was something that you would never see on your traditional TV, this border here. So it just will display itself like that. So that's why I think if you really want to play, if you want a real Sega CD or Sega Genesis experience and you want to hook it up to your TV, but you don't want to have some of the artifacts of that, you can get the Mega SG, which is the analog clone console, or you can get a Mister, and you won't see these borders with those. Frank Castle says doesn't appear to have any input lag. Yeah, you're not going to see much input lag with original hardware. The RetroTink. So Bob from Retro RGB did a whole big review, actually just the other day, of latency related to some of these devices that you can use to get your old consoles on your modern TV. And this thing introduces practically nothing. Like, you can't measure it. It's that low on the latency. So really it's going to come down to your display and how it handles things. And like I said, I think the RetroTink here makes things look the best. So that's probably the direction you want to go in. Yeah, I forgot the name of the big guy. But I think the big guy was the mayor. And I guess these guys like took the mayor's daughter, and you have to rescue the mayor's daughter. The mayor himself is like one of the characters in the play. Am I not mistaken? This was like the first beat 'em up that ever came out. I think it was. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. You know what I want to do real quick is I just want to try out the cheat system. So let me go back to my demo folder here. And let's go to Sonic 3. And I'm going to go to cheats. And the cheat system mirrors, if I'm not mistaken, the Game Genie. So I'm just going to look up Sonic 3 on my web browser here and see if we can get one that'll work well here. So here's a cheat code. So this one, here's a perfect one to try. So this one here, let me show you what I've got on screen. This one here is you do not lose rings. So I'm going to have to type in this code AWHACA92. So we're going to go to here, and we're going to type A, and then we'll, oops, how do I get to the next letter? I guess I have to hit it in. Okay, so you have to hit the letter. So we're going to hit A, WHA, and then it's CA92. Now what should happen here when I get hit is I won't lose my rings. And I think I have to turn it on. There we go. So I hit C to turn it on. And then if I go back, I think that cheat is now on. So let's see what happens when we jump into the game. And what I can do also, I can also load my save state from where I was before. So I've got 40 rings now. See how I did that? So because we had the save state on the cartridge, I could jump right back to where I left off. So I'm going to purposely get hit. Let's see what happens here. Oh, it killed me. Let me try that again. All right, so I've got some rings now, and I get hit. So the animation plays, but I didn't lose the rings. You see that? And so that's how the cheat code works. And what I'm curious about next here is, I'll try it again here to see if it. So I'm losing the rings, but then I can actually accumulate rings by getting hit. So watch this. Let's have him hit us again. And if I pick up some of the rings here, I actually get more rings than what I started with. That violates the laws of economics, right? So that's one of the cheat codes that you can put in. It's like having a Game Genie, but it's built into the cartridge. And now if I turn off the system and I reboot it, we should be able to go back in, and I think it retains the codes that you put in, so you don't have to type it in every time. So on the original Game Genie, you would have to do that every single time. But if we go over to Sonic the Hedgehog here and go to cheats, you can see that it retained it even though we shut it down. So what it's going to do is it's going to write that code to the card, and I can have all of these cheats, and I can choose which ones I want on or off. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, so that's that. I got to do a little more research on this, so I'm probably going to do the review later next week. Everything is fine. I think it's a fine product. but I do need to do a comparative, and I have to go just get that other one out, the Mega SD, and just see, if the Mega SD is a little bit more flexible on its CD formats. This one seems to be a little less flexible on that. Smokemon says they need a cheat to never lose momentum. I'm sure somebody could figure that out. UTR Concrete says, too bad there wasn't any 32X support. Yeah, I would love to see a cartridge do the 32X. I think that would be awesome. But I don't think it's possible based on the configuration of the system here. Smoke Monster might have something to add on the Mister. I think it might be possible on the Mister, just from a conceptual standpoint, because you can route the video signals through the FPGA in a way that you could replicate this, but I think it'd be incredibly complicated. So that's what I wanted to play around with tonight. The Mega Everdrive Pro, and what this adds that the other Everdrive didn't have, first of all, is the Sega CD support. So that's a big add, and it also, I think, has more save states on it versus the other one. And you've got basically like a little computer inside of this cartridge to run those Sega CD games. So yeah, good stuff. All right, everybody. So tomorrow is Father's Day. So I'm going to be I'm actually going to take tomorrow off. It's been a long week. We had that high school graduation. I'm going to talk about, on the weekly wrap-up on Monday, I'm going to talk all about that graduation and how we did it. And in case you missed it, we had a drive-through high school graduation at my local high school. We had 140 or so graduates, and it took about 8 hours to get them all through. And we streamed it the whole time. It's pretty amazing. So it worked out very well, and I posted a picture on my community post, and a lot of you were really interested in that. So I figured, hey, let's do a video about it. So that's what we're going to do. And then, so that is the plan for this upcoming week, and I just need to do a little bit more research on the CD image formats on here, because I want to be able to show how it can pick the BIOS based on the CD image. So I got to find a Sonic CD image that will boot up. And that's about it. So I appreciate everybody tuning in. I'm going to do a little bit more with this, and that's going to do it for now. Thank you all. You should all go check out Smoke Monster's channel. He's got if you're into this retro stuff, he's got a great series on the Mister to learn more about that. Because I think if you don't want to futz around with flash cartridges and RGB cables and all the other stuff, you can get a Mister, and you can get very high quality imagery out to your TVs. And with my Mister, I've got RGB now going out to my CRT that I have upstairs, so it's good stuff. But so that's gonna do it. All right, everybody, I'm gonna go let the dog out one more time and watch some YouTube videos and conk out. And then tomorrow is Father's Day, so I'm looking forward to that. And then it's back to work. I never stop working. I work 7 days a week, and I enjoy it because I really like what I do, love what I do, and hope you all can find things that you like to do too. So that's that. Let me say goodbye to the Amazon folks, and we will end the Amazon segment here. And I think we're gonna call it an evening. So thanks everybody for tuning in, and I will be back again soon, probably Monday or Tuesday next week. I have a couple of I got the air conditioning guy coming in on Tuesday because my unit down here stopped working, and it's like super damp. This is my basement, and it's super damp in here, so he's going to come and fix that. And then I've got to have the plumber come and replace my sink. I got this crazy sink in to review, or faucet. This faucet has a chilling unit that goes with it, and it can do hot water, cold water. And then it's got a filter built in. It does the spray thing like you would normally do for a kitchen sink. And then it also, get this, it also does the fizzy water. So it's like a soda stream in the faucet. Isn't that crazy? So good stuff. Golden Ogre did a NES Revisited series this week. Check out your channel there, Golden Ogre. I can't get enough retro content, so I'll definitely have a look there. All right. Well, folks, I am going to call it an evening. Thank you all for tuning in. And we will be back again very soon. I've got other stuff. We're going to do another printer. I got one of those Epson EcoTank things, so we'll do a night setting up that printer. That's actually going to be a fun one to watch because there's ink bottles and things that can go wrong, and it'll be lots of fun. All right, everybody. Thank you all again, and I will see you on the next stream. So thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.